Melinda's hot sauce.
The kids are gonna be so excited.
Haters will say radio's not a real job.
Oh, good.
You know why Skyline Chili doesn't have any beans, don't you?
Panic!
You might see this.
I love your work. This is nice.
Oh, wow. I think my parents have one of these in their closet.
I annoyed you with my friendship.
That didn't work.
Hey there, my name is James Shotwell, but you might know me better as Country Minute. And like a lot of you, I've loved music my entire life. I never had brothers or sisters, but I had my dad's record collection, and that was enough. At 15, I convinced my hometown to let us use city funds to open an all-ages venue. Now, I have no idea what convinced people to give me that much money at that young of an age, but I am glad that they did. In college, I created a music blog with my best friends that we later sold, and from there, things got crazy. I've done a little bit of everything, from running global marketing campaigns to owning my own record label. I've managed a stage on Warped Tour and even ghostwritten tweets for famous rappers, but through it all, I never really felt like I fit in. So in 2022, I created Country Minute to make a space for people like me, people who love country music in all of its forms. And that mission has given me a purpose that not only led to a family business that allows me to work with my wife, but also allows me to stay home with our young son. And if that is not the definition of living the dream, I don't know what is. So if you love country music, stick around. We've got a lot to share, and we're just getting started.
All right, thank you guys
Hello.
so much for coming today. My name is Gabe. This is Emily on the radio. And then we also have James from
Hi.
Country Minute. Thank you guys. And we figured there's no better way to introduce these two to you than show you a video if we're talking about stopping making social media so hard. So thank you guys for coming today, and we'll get right into it. So what do you guys have to say to people when they claim that, you know, being good at social media, you need to spend money on equipment or you need to put in 20 hours a day? What is your response to that?
I don't put in 20 hours a day. So I'm a social media lead in Louisville, Kentucky. That's Louisville, Kentucky.
Not Louisville.
Not Louisville. But I use very little equipment. I'm somebody who just sits my phone up, as you may have noticed, or I'll have somebody else hold it. Very little equipment is needed, if any. You can absolutely use lots of equipment. You're going to see a lot of people here using equipment. James is a master. But I don't think you need a ton. And I don't think you have to put in a ton of time, and you'll hear me talk about that.
I completely agree. I mean, the video you just watched took me like 6 hours. I won't lie to you, that took like 6 hours. I'm not about to tell you that took 20 minutes. That was the first time I'd ever done it either, so it'll get faster, I think. But honestly, when it comes to content creation to get started, it all started for me with just my cell phone and like Emily propping it up somewhere. And some of the most viral clips that I've ever created were just cell phone clips captured in the moment. Now, I won't lie to you, the back half of that video, there are a lot more lights than you can see. It's all smoke and mirrors. But that's something you build up to over time, and honestly, it was only necessary to create a certain type of content. For what we're here to talk about and what 99% of people get on their phones to doom scroll and see every day, you do not need anything more than a cell phone.
And then there are some people who think, okay, we don't need social media, say, to be successful in radio or whatever it may be. What do you have to say to that? Like, how important is social media to your careers?
I think it's massive. And I can give you an example. Like, obviously, radio is an audio medium, but a really good example of the fact that it carries over beyond audio is, like, I've walked in Walmart before, and I've heard somebody say, "That's the radio lady." I didn't have to walk in and be like, 99.7 DJX for them to know that. I didn't say anything. They know me, probably because of the hair. But they had to see me to know that, and that's because I put myself on social media. I make myself accessible in video form, and a lot of times all I'm doing is bringing the radio to video form. And I'm just making it's a lot like you're hearing like, oh, you need to be audio on demand. You need to put yourself in a podcast form. Well, I'm just putting it in video form. You're just making yourself more accessible. And so I think you can't have in this day you can't have radio without social media.
I mean, it's my job, so I am definitely going to tell you that it's important. But at the same time, I've worked in music for 20 years at this point. I've done a little bit of everything. And the connection that I've been able to forge with followers and the career I've been able to build since starting Country Minute is unlike anything else I've ever done. I've been a marketing person for, you all just heard what I've done. In all of those roles, I knew people in the industry, but I would always find myself in a situation where that role ended or something happened, and I didn't have anything. I had to start building from zero again. So Country Minute has provided an opportunity for me to have my own thing. So whether or not somebody comes in and comes out, if there's a deal or whatever, I have this built-in audience that I can take with me everywhere, and they will move with me. And as it grows, it helps me create a better network of friends and individuals as well. I don't know if Coyote On Air is in this room right now, but y'all use all of our news posts as your news posts, and that means the world to us. But that kind of networking only happens as a result of creating content.
And I think with social media, a lot of people are just scared to start. Like, they don't know what to post. They don't know if it's going to fail. What is your advice about that fear of failure with social media?
I'm going to steal a quote. Mr. Beast was once asked how to make a good YouTube video, and he said, make 100 YouTube videos, and then you'll know the answer to that question. And honestly, I think that that is the true answer. I mean, today we'll have our 800th Instagram post. We're at 115,000 followers, and I think of those 800, maybe the last 200 I've been like, maybe I know what I'm doing now. The first 600 were just like, I like this, and that's interesting to me. But we had a conversation backstage where it came up like, if you get 200 views one day, you can't let that crush you. But also, I try to picture, like, there aren't 200 people in this room right now. So if 200 people watch your video, you got to really start to put that into perspective, I think. Because I don't really focus on numbers unless I put them into those terms. 10,000 views might not seem like a lot, but where I live, that's an arena. So if I could fill an arena with a single 37-second idea, that's kind of a cool way to look at it. And that's a lot more important to me than the rest of it.
As far as failing, I feel like it's more of a fail if you just don't do it. Like, just try. We're literally at Stop Trying So Hard, but like, if you try a little bit, that's okay too.
Just a bitch.
Yeah,
just a pinch.
Just a little bit. And for my philosophy is like I know what the questions are, so I'm just skipping ahead a little bit.
That's not allowed. But go on.
We at Alpha Louisville, we do like 7-second videos. Like, just do one real quick. It doesn't have to be long. If you just do one really fast, that's fine. And if it sucks, but now it's over. And you can move on. You can do another one later. And I've kind of done this like almost like a kindergarten-esque exercise where I had a jar that was filled with gumballs, and every time I made a video, I filled it in, and I called it my jar of failures, and every time I didn't hit like 1,000 views, I filled in a gumball, and then I got a prize once I failed like 50 times. And that way, every time it didn't work, I was like, oh, great, this is good, and so I kept trying, and so that way I didn't get discouraged.
That's really
I was
good.
like, yes. Which is a weird way to fail, but that's okay. Just keep failing.
And I think one of my frustrations too is you'll spend hours and hours on a video for like 200 views, and then you prop your camera up and you take a video in 10 seconds, and like boom, gets thousands and thousands of views. So how do you handle that? Like spending so much time on something and it fails, or name a time that say you didn't spend very much time and maybe 1 million.
Okay, I'll go first. So we all know Chris Stapleton and George Strait. They're these country singers on the rise. Last year, we were at their stadium tour. We were doing a promotion with George Strait's touring company where they wanted us to go out and capture all this content at the show. And most of it's really positive. You know, it's, why are you here? What are your favorite George Strait songs? But then we're at the show, and we're in the third row or second row, and Chris Stapleton gets on stage, and the man in front of me proceeds to put on noise-canceling headphones and open up Paramount Plus and begin streaming Blue Bloods Season 1, Episode 3, and then Episode 4, and then Episode 5. At no point did he take those headphones off, and he could not be bothered to look at Chris Stapleton on stage. So at one point, I had to take a video of it and just threw it up on our Instagram, 7-second clip, and it just said, "Man, how good must this episode of Blue Bloods be?" And the cast of Blue Bloods liked it, so I think that they agreed. Not Tom Selleck, but the rest of them. And I think they got a kick out of it, but that actually goes mega viral. Chris Stapleton eventually likes it. He doesn't think it's mean. And we're not making fun of a person. It's more just like, for me, I found, especially when you're trying to just capture an audience's attention, it's being their eyes. You know, we always promote ourselves at Country Minute as being the biggest fans of country music, because we go all the places that you wish you could go all over the country and capture those moments that you wish you could be in, and hopefully next year you'll actually go. We're a FOMO creation machine is what I try to make ourselves out to be. So some of our most successful clips are just doing that, being the eyes and ears for your listeners, being like, here's a moment that was so uniquely personal to me, but now the whole world gets to enjoy it. And maybe they slam on this person, maybe they deserved it. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I think that's where the most connection comes from, because those really big videos you spend a lot of time on, those are for your followers. Those are for people who already care about you. It's the quick, really entertaining stuff that's going to make people want to care about you.
I want to care about you.
Oh, thanks.
So I have a couple of examples of things where I'm just like, I'm just gonna put this up. Like a couple of weeks ago, we had a big snowstorm in Louisville where people weren't going to school and people weren't going to work, and radio doesn't close, so we still have to show up. So I get to work, and I brought all the food that I needed to, just in case I had to live at the radio station, because I'm over the top. And of course, I brought a gallon of milk, because it's part of my shtick, but it's also part of my real personality. And I really do keep a gallon of milk at the radio station, and my listeners know that, and the people that follow me know that. So all I did was prop up my phone, and I'm just unloading a grocery bag of a gallon of milk and some salami, and I don't know why I have a lot of meat, but I'm like, this is so weird, and it's so me, and it did really well, oddly, and people are like, what is this girl and her milk obsession? And then my listeners are like, oh, that's so Emily, and it did really well on views, and it took me 30 seconds to film, and I just put it up real quick.
And if I could tag that, I think it's true for a lot of radio people. I don't live near a lot of the people in this room, but I'm endeared to a lot of you because you create content already. If Brandon Clay is in here from Boston, he makes these beautiful, short, little entertaining videos. He works for iHeart, where he's singing Morgan Wallen songs in his car. Really, it's all Morgan Wallen-based content. He loves Morgan Wallen, but I don't live in Boston, and I love that guy. When he comes up in my feed, I that's the country radio guy that loves Morgan Wallen from Boston. Wood, who I just saw from the Taste of Country morning show, he has a really good knack for asking artists about video games, especially as a parent who video games. And as a guy who's just recently became a dad myself, the first time I saw a 13-second clip of him asking Jason Aldean about NCAA football, I was immediately like, I will watch every clip he does, because I care about that thing. I'm a dad who games. So even those little tiny moments can create these connections across the country that when we do get in the air, when I travel a lot, I'm like, oh, you're on the air in Louisville, and you're on the air in Arizona. And so when we're in those places, I want to listen because I've been following you online, and I want to hear the rest of the show.
And James, I know recently, too, you capitalized on a moment with Billy Ray Cyrus, if you know,
He's been in the news. I don't know if you guys have heard.
Yeah.
So we had an early heads up that Billy Ray was going to be at the inauguration, and so we've been doing this thing at Country Minute that's been really successful for us over the last year. We call it compounding content. But basically the idea is, let's say that we know something big is going to happen. A great example, we'll just use Billy Ray Cyrus as an example. We know he's going to be at the inauguration. So starting about 3 weeks before that, we made content that had nothing to do with the inauguration, but did have to do with Billy Ray Cyrus. So we first talked about the impact of Achy Breaky Heart, and then we talked about when Travis Tritt said that Achy Breaky Heart was trash. Some of you may have been around when that happened. And we made a few other videos about him over the course of 3 weeks. And the first one didn't do that great. It did okay. The second one did about twice as good. The third one did even better. By the time Billy Ray got on stage at the inauguration, everyone that followed us knew that we talked about Billy Ray, and when that hit and it became a trending topic, the algorithm just fed all of that Billy Ray content out to people because they were seeing the inauguration clip, and then it'd be like, oh, you want more Billy Ray? Here's this, and here's this, and here's this. And all of our views built up in a big way. So for us, it's always about trying to think down the line. Morgan Wallen starts teasing something, we're going to start posting Morgan Wallen jokes and content today so that when it gets here, we've built up that following. People are looking for it from us.
And Emily, I know we talked too about how our offices, you know, you're going to get a wide age range and maybe social media experience. How do you say inspire those around you that maybe aren't stoked about Instagram and TikTok to kind of come along for the ride and make content with you?
So, I think it's there's a dwindling number of young people in radio, and those are the people that are really good at making content, which is very frustrating because it's like, where are those people? So it's tricky to get an older demographic of people working in radio to be like, come on, let's make a video. But that's what I do. I'm like, hey, I've got a great idea. We're gonna make a really weird video. Now go stand over there and hold this plant.
And it works.
It does, and sometimes it's a little bit more labor intensive on maybe my part. And sometimes it's easier depending on the personalities, because that's what you're doing is you're managing personalities in radio. But I try to go about this in as gleefully as I can. If you're the personality who's pushing for making content, because there's going to be people who are like that don't think social media is important, or if you're the person who does think social media is important but you're not great at making it, go ask the person who's excited about it, like, hey, I have an idea but I really don't know what to do with it. Could you help me? I want it to look like this, or I want you to zoom in on me, or could you just hold the phone, that here's how I want to do it. I'm lucky, and I don't know if my boss is in here, but I'm lucky enough to have a boss who really likes doing that. I'll be like, hey, I have an idea, and this is how I want to do it. Can we do it? I've got 5 minutes. And so that's helpful. You don't always have that, but if you can shell out 5 minutes, that's all I like to take to do it, and then you can go edit in CapCut or Splice or whatever. Take more time in editing and less time in filming the video, because then you're just gonna get bogged down in doing the video, and you're actually probably just gonna resent it.
And it's hard to not get caught in the weeds sometimes of what time of day should I post on TikTok? Should I post in the morning on Instagram? And there's also so many trends being thrown at you, specifically like dance trends. You know, no one wants to do that. How much do you guys pay attention to the time of day that you're posting and even like the trends that are out there?
I don't care about any of it. I used to obsess over it, right? So the people would be like, you got to post at 10 a.m., 4 p.m., and 7 to 8 p.m. And then one day somebody said to me, he goes, well, when do you look at your phone? And I went, probably 150 times a day. And he goes, well, any of those times will work. And I was like, all right, well, that makes a lot of sense to me. Because the real thinking about it is, should you post at 3 a.m.? I don't know how many of your friends are awake at 3 a.m. If the answer is less than 10, the answer is no. But if it's any other time of the day and you think, well, I'm looking at my phone right now, chances are several thousand or million other people are also looking at their phones right then. So there is a little something to be said about being topical. You know, if something breaks, talk about it then. But generally speaking, day to day, it just needs to be entertaining. It doesn't matter what it is. And trend hopping or using trends is good, but it's so short term unless that's all you're going to do. Trends are just a fun thing to do. You're not endearing anybody to you with a trend necessarily. So you got to just do your own thing. And for posting times, post when you're looking at your phone, which for me is all day long. So if you have a good idea and you made a good video, throw it out there. Throw out as many as you want. Facebook and Meta has said that you can post 100 times a day on Facebook and Instagram. As long as it's good, you're not going to get hurt as an account. So there's no harm in failing. TikTok, I tend to be a little bit different about, because there is a little bit of like, if no one watches a bunch of videos, it's not going to work. But for the most part, just keep shooting, keep trying.
As far as times, I'm not super worried about what time you post it. Just post it. And if you're sitting there and waiting and you're like, oh, I don't want to post it too early or too soon, you're going to resent your content and you're not going to like what you're doing. So just post it. And as far as trends, I do like trends, but as long as you filter it through your content or your style or your station. So like as a personality, one thing I try to do is put the keyword radio host in it. So like if I'm doing my hair in a video, sorry I didn't do my bangs for you today, but if I were doing my bangs, I would be like, radio host gets ready for a job you can't even see her do. Or if I, like, radio host is, like, I brought all the food just in case I have to live here. Radio hosts might have to live at the radio station because if it comes across somebody who's never seen me before, they don't care that I'm Emily. It's just like, oh, she's a radio host. So if I'm doing a trend, and you might have seen the one where it's like, you're so funny, and it says, thanks, here's something really traumatic that happened to me. I said, you're so funny on the radio. Thanks. I had my first anxiety attack in first grade. So I just added the word radio to it so I would filter it through that. And that way, yeah, it's a trend for right now, but if you see it in 3 weeks from now when the trend is dead, at least it still went through the radio filter. So I like trends, but I still want it to make sense for my brand. And I can still make it make sense for the radio station for the same reason, as long as it fits 99.7 DJX's style and sense of humor, and we can still do it for the morning show and the afternoon show and things like that. But I don't worry about timing and trends. I like them.
And if you guys could share like your favorite tip or trick, I know James, you're a big fan of the green screen. We've also talked about CapCut being very useful. What would your favorite tip or trick be to share today?
I mean, I do think using green screen is an easy way to keep people's attention. If you don't want to dance, you don't want to move around a bunch, TikTok and Instagram both have really good green screen features. You grab a couple photos of whoever you're going to talk about, throw them behind you. It's a really great way to keep people glued. And then beyond that, especially for radio people, I think I love when I see a radio person who extends their format by talking about it on their channels. So like Scotty K out of Chicago, I don't know if he's in here, but I'm just going to keep dropping radio people I follow on Instagram. So if you get named, feel lucky. Scotty K out of Chicago does a really good job of taking like news topics and making them into videos that are not just here's the news today, but pushing them through the lens of being a radio DJ. And things like that, I think that's a trick that I love. Like, take what's topical, take what we're talking about. You know we're going to talk about Morgan Wallen this week, so go ahead and talk about him.
Emily?
I forget what the question was.
That's okay. Good morning. If you could pass on any tip or trick to everyone in this room, what would that be? It could be like an editing app or like a favorite trick that you have on Instagram to get more views.
I think 7-second videos are the best thing that you can do. And when I say 7 seconds, I don't mean it literally has to be 7 seconds. Sometimes they're 12 and sometimes they're 30. But in our building, Ben Davis and I have just started calling them 7-second videos. He's like, hey, you want to do a 7-second video right now? I'm going to go get in the elevator and pretend I'm leaving. Like it's a half day if you just leave. So if you commit to doing the bare minimum, sometimes that's enough. And then you can go about your day because you're probably programming 1, 2, and 3 stations, and you also have to do the morning show, and then you also have to do the social media, and you also have to do, you have to go pick up your kids and something else, and then you also, you have enough to do, but you also have to show up on social media, and that's a lot. And I don't want you to resent social media because it's such a fun place to be. And so do a 7-second video, edit it up real quick. It doesn't have to be fancy because nobody is going to be like, oh, wow, did you see the editing on that? Other than somebody who does editing. And I don't know if you saw the short clip that I put together, but I was like, clip, 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 clip. And I was like, that's good. Now they know who I am. That's fine. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just show up. So a 7-second video is good. And we do well for it. If we ever want to get fancy, we can. But just do the bare minimum.
And to wrap it all up, I know you guys have been sharing so much knowledge and great advice, but to stop trying so hard, what would be your best piece of advice that you hope someone takes with them today?
Make a video every day for a week. Post it, even if you hate it. And if you don't see a small improvement, you can stop forever. But if you give me 7 straight days and you don't see your views go up and you don't feel like you've gotten any better at it, go ahead and give up. But if you give me 7 straight days, most of the time that's not going to happen. I have the same theory about Facebook. I thought Facebook was dead for the longest time. We've always focused. We have, 250,000 followers here and all these different places, but we've never been great at Facebook, and I never got into it. But then one day I read, if you give Facebook 10 days, post a reel every single day, it will multiply your stuff. So we did that, and even though it's not huge yet, I was proven wrong. It did matter. So that consistency factor of just do it every day for a week, and if you don't see a measurable difference, I'm going to call you a liar. It will make a difference.
So far, we've said do the bare minimum and just give up.
And just do it every day.
It's fine. Just give up. Stop trying so hard. If I had to give you a piece of advice, it would be put your face in a video. And for me, the way that I got started is you're already, chances are you might be on air. If you're not and you're just programming, encourage your on-air staff to just put their phone somewhere. And if they've, literally, all I do is prop my phone up and just do a break with the video on and then post that, because then they're double dipping. And that's literally how I started. And it, like, they're kind of going to end up air checking themselves because I'm really like, that's not even funny. But it's easy. And then you just reuse your content, and then you're just like, oh, here's me on air. Ta-da, everybody gets to see me on air, and they didn't even have to listen to my show, and maybe now they'll come listen to my show because they've heard of 99.7 DJX in Louisville, Kentucky. So just easy, bare minimum, you can give up.
If I could tag one more thing, it's you have a secret weapon, all of you, is that you are probably top 10 most knowledgeable about your area where you live. And for the rest of us, we don't know where you live, and we don't know anything about it. So you are in a unique position to actually be ambassadors for those areas. Not even, you don't have to be, I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. You don't have to talk about Grand Rapids all the time, but you are in a unique position to share a perspective on life there and the scene of country music, or just unique things about that area that you can bring into your world that nobody else has a platform to do as easily or as knowledgeable as you do. And I always tell people to leverage that kind of thing, you know? What makes us a unique place to be? And that'll make you want to be there. Or if nothing else, just go live. Just turn the camera on live and do your thing. There's some people out in Oklahoma that I watch every morning on TikTok. I'm sure they don't know I do, but I enjoy their radio show from 20 feet away across the room without being microphoned. It's just, I like seeing them do it. I like seeing them do their show, see how it works. I like seeing all the studios. As a person who hasn't been in there myself, it's cool. It's a thing that we want to see, so bring us in there.
Thank you. And we wanted to leave a good amount of room at the end of this for questions. So if you guys want to, feel free to text in anything.
Oh, you can text?
It can be individually, it can be all three of us, whatever works. But yeah, feel free to text in. And then in the meantime, we wanted to do a little demonstration of how easy it can be to make a video and cut it up and post it. So the next person that walks into this room, we're going to
give them a standing ovation, folks. Now, you're not facing the door, so you'll have to trust us.
Yeah. So
But if we start standing up and applauding, we have not lost our minds.
Okay,
Ish.
so is everyone down for that? Say yes? Nice.
Say yes.
Okay.
Verbal
so
confirmation.
Next person to walk in, just round of applause, like it's the greatest person you've ever seen, okay?
You'll love
awesome.
it.
Do you have any
They won't see it.
questions?
Anyone have any questions? Don't make me text myself.
He will.
Hello. Oh, hey. Guys, we have so many questions.
Okay.
We'll start with the one right up on top. What is your favorite video editor?
I use Filmora Wondershare. It's I call it like the dummy halfway ground between CapCut and something like super professional, like Pro or Premiere or Final Cut. I think it costs $99 for a lifetime license. It has a billion tools you'll never use. There's a phone app. I use it for, I swear by it, Filmora Wondershare. It's
Can you
super
say
cheap
it
and
again?
easy. Filmora. Filmora Wondershare.
I use CapCut, and if it goes away, I use Splice.
Solid.
I use Premiere to cut up audio with videos. If we have like in-studio videos, I use Premiere, and then I switch it to CapCut to add captions and anything else. So those two are like my secret sauce.
This could be for any of you. Talk about the legalities of using music in videos.
I can. I don't know what they tell all of you, so I don't want to tell you something differently. But in my world, as far as it goes, I always tell people that you can use short clips. Long clips are insane. Nobody wants to watch a 45-second video that you've just introduced. It just doesn't exist on the internet. For us, our rule is, and we have found that we never get in trouble, knock on whatever, by using clips that are 6 seconds or shorter, and that's kind of the golden rule in most music things. Or, fun trick, folks, use a live recording. Like if you can find an acoustic version of a song or a really high quality live one, use that audio. That is not copyrighted. So Luke Combs just had his first billion play song on Spotify. You can't use that song, but you could use the acoustic version that he posted on YouTube in HD quality, and that is not copyrighted. So that's kind of how we skirt that.
How can introverts become more comfortable with putting their lives authentically on social media?
This is the first time I've spoken in front of people doing Country Minute in 2.5 years, and we have 500,000 followers around the world. So I don't like doing this. I prefer to be in my apartment. If you saw the video, I'm in my home office with our son all the time, a 15-month-old. That's who I talk to all day. This is the most words I've said to somebody, not my wife, in months. So I think as an introvert, you just kind of got to get, thank you, you understand. As an introvert, you just kind of got to get over it. At the end of the day, most introverts I know still want people to like them and still want people to know them. My advice is always like, don't try to appeal to them. Just tell people who you are. Tell people what you love. You might have saw my sweatshirt. It said, you can only trust God or the music of John Michael Montgomery. I believe that in my veins. But I also think that it's something that tells people everything they need to know about me. And as an introvert, I don't want to have to say that sentence. So I just put it on a shirt. Put yourself out there. And people probably aren't going to approach you and talk about your videos on the street. So just do it. Just do what you do.
Emily, question for you. You've had great success with your videos for clients like McDonald's. How has your sales team been able to embrace that to bring in more revenue? And are you doing spec videos?
I do spec videos, and I use the McDonald's videos as spec videos. I'm like, look at what I've done for McDonald's. I actually do a lot of, I like to do videos. I try not to tell sales this, but I will go out and do videos before remotes and then use them as collateral for, I'm like, hey, can you go get me an endorsement for this mattress company? So I've got a video of me jumping on mattresses and
Congratulations.
welcome in.
Welcome.
Great guy. Anyway,
Back
McDonald's?
to me.
We'll give all of you credit. Just go ahead and tag yourselves in the comments.
If you're doing client videos, save them, and then they're obviously, if they probably have a place to live, they live on my Instagram, and the client is tagged and the client is all over them, but obviously save them and use them as collateral and be like, here's what I did for the Botox people, and here's what I did for McDonald's, and here's me sticking Ozempic into my gut, which people either love or hate, but it gets a lot of engagement, which they like. So save those videos and use them as collateral, whether you're getting paid or not, because I got paid for the McDonald's videos. I did not get paid for the mattress videos. So you just have to be willing to do some of them anyway and get paid for some of them and not get paid for some of them. But you look good for doing them.
That's how it works for me too, honestly.
Do repost on TikTok make a difference?
Yes, in terms of what, I guess. It probably
Does it
doesn't
help
say since you
with
stopped talking.
views, interaction?
Yeah, it helps with your ultimate reach, but TikTok is smart enough to know that if you're logged into 6 accounts on your phone and those 6 accounts are the only ones that comment and share and repost it, they know that. The robot's a little smarter than that. So I do think that reposts have a lot of value, but watch time, comments, and direct shares still matter way more.
Simple question. This could be for anybody up there. Which do you prefer? Which is better, stories, reels, or both?
I think stories are specific for right now because they're going to expire in 24 hours. Stories are great for this is going on right now. Reels are great for this is going to last right now. It's going to go on next week. If you see it next month, it still works. It's going to be good for 2 months. If it's, I'm so top 40 that I'm like, okay, you can. Everybody here knows Taylor Swift. So if we're doing a Taylor Swift concert, that's huge and big and awesome. That's a great reel. But if we're giving away tickets to the Vitamin String Quartet, which is going to be at the Kentucky Center for one weekend only, that's going to be more of a story post. I'm probably not, unless we do some cool, crazy reel where we're playing violins and it's going to be like content first, sales second. Like, if the content's going to live on and it's going to be funny no matter what it, like, nobody's going to be like, oh my God, I missed Vitamin String Quartet. If the content was funny because Ben and Kelly in the morning were funny and that keeps living on, make it a reel. But if all you do is go on and say, hey guys, we've got Vitamin String Quartet tickets to win, and you're not going to be able to win them a month from now, make that a story, not a reel.
I agree with her. I always say that reels and posts are for context and stories for what's happening right now. But if you have to add context, make a reel because you'll have to do some talking. And if you don't have to add context, it's a post. It's a static post.
How do you come up with ideas when you feel burnt out on content?
I take a break.
What?
I think it's okay to take breaks. If you're burnt out, then your content might suck. Or you can make a reel about being burnt out. You can be in bed with your hair all crazy and you can be like, radio's drying me up. And I hate my life today. And sometimes it sucks. And that's just life. And maybe I'll be better next week. And that's a reel. And people can identify with that. Or you can take a break. Because if you don't take breaks, you might quit your job. And we don't want that.
Option C is to just share old content again. This is a big Town Square idea. I know if anyone here is from Town Square, but evergreen content is huge for us. So, for every time Billy Ray Cyrus blows up the inauguration, I have successfully posted about the 1993 Country Music Super Bowl halftime show 4 years in a row, and every year it does. I don't even remake the video. I post the exact same video, and it does over 1 million views every year. I don't even think it's a great video. It's just something that is evergreen. So every February, there's at least one day where I can go, I don't got to post a video today. It's Super Bowl day. 2, if you want to count when Garth Brooks fought the NFL. So there you go.
I would encourage you to just follow people that you think are better than you and inspire you. Like Sabrina from Queens. I follow her, and I feel like anytime I am maybe feeling discouraged, I'm like, hey, she's posting every day. You mentioned B. Clay in Boston.
Brand Clay.
Yeah, follow that guy, and his videos are very consistent, and I feel like he just seems like he never gives up. So if you feel like giving up, follow someone that seemingly doesn't ever take a break, and I think it just inspires you to be better.
Yeah.
We've had a couple questions regarding this topic. This one comes from a Minnesota phone number. Do you use a tool to post on multiple platforms, or do you make different content per platform?
Horrendously no. The sad news for me, at least, is I post everything directly, and for the most part, it benefits you to do so. So I usually start on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and then YouTube. Technically, Instagram Reels shares your reel to Facebook, but you don't get credited the same way. So you need to also upload it directly to Facebook.
I think it's hard because it's easy to get lazy about that. In my opinion, I think some of those things are just a bit lazy because, like you mentioned, if you go out and post it separately on each platform, most of the time it's going to do better. It's going to give you full credit. And then you also can intricately mess with the music and the hashtags and everything else, which sometimes you can't in those applications where you're just mass posting.
So I know Alpha uses Social News Desk, and there are ways to reshare, like in Instagram, like you can reshare anything on any other platform, which is nice, but I try to vary the content on each platform because I don't want you necessarily getting the exact same thing on everything. Now, I do want you to see like all of our blogs on all of our platforms, so like you're gonna get the same things on those. Now, I will say, as far as like original content, because like, as far as video content, you're gonna get all of our original video content on our Instagram. And I actually was explaining this to somebody last night, is you're gonna get burnout if you're trying to make different content for every single platform. So you have to choose a favorite child, and you have to do that based on your own audience. So like for us, our favorite child is Instagram, but for other formats, it might be Facebook. So you have to like be specific about who your favorite child is, but you can't ignore all your children because you have to love them all.
And the golden rule of thumb is if it works in one place, it will work everywhere. Algorithms move at different speeds, but they're also always changing. So if I were to sit here and tell you Facebook is slower than Instagram, that'll probably be untrue next week. So if it works in one place, it'll work everywhere.
From a North Carolina phone number. I also worry that my relationships with friends and family will become hollow when I'm always thinking of videos or posts we can make together.
Well, as a married guy, full-time content creator with a wife who works in radio, we just don't talk about it. We don't. Our house is never filled with honestly, I think it's kind of a good thing because I'm obsessed with music and content creation, and as a guy who gets to do it full time, now we talk about real things in our household. So I don't really think it becomes that big of a deterrent. It's hollow if my mom wants to ask me how Morgan Wallen's tour is shaping up, but generally speaking, we just talk about her grandbaby, and I don't have to think about it anymore because the internet's fighting about it. And I think that's actually a better option if you really think about it. You can get to the real stuff because you save all the fluff for the internet.
I've had strained relationships because of that. I've had somebody say, all you do is work. And I'm like, yeah. But I literally had somebody here say, you don't check your email. And I was like, I'm on PTO. It was my personal email. But if you can put a divide there, that's great. And your whole life doesn't have to be content. I've said on other panels, like I know I just said you can say that your mental health is trash. You don't have to though. You don't have to let people in on that. You don't have to let them in on your family life. You get to pick your divides, and you don't have to make your family a part of it.
Absolutely. End goals really matter. I mean, if you're just trying to build a following, there's no reason to bring all that into it unless you want to.
Question for Emily. When you are deciding on the content of a video, do you create a video with your radio station audience in mind, or is it more about your personality and doing what you want?
It's a little bit of both, because a lot of my personality is tied to the radio, like my online persona is tied to the radio station. Like when I'm out creating videos, like I'm a homebody. Like I create a lot of videos at home too, but when I'm out, I'm like, hey, look, we're at the mattress store. I'm like, I wish I was at home on my mattress, asleep, with a glass of milk.
Red
like
flag.
the milk thing's real, but I always try to keep that in mind. Like I try to think, can I collaborate this with DJ X? Because if I can, great. If not, that's okay too. But at the end of the day, it's Emily on the radio, so I try to make it radio content. I want it to make sense for the radio, and so I kind of try to marry the two. I still have my own life. I'm just not putting it necessarily on my social media.
What percentage would you say is Louisville-focused content?
Maybe like a fourth. Like you just wanted to say Louisville.
I wanted to prove I could.
Yeah, I try to be Louisville centric. I try to make sure that you know I'm in Kentucky, and a lot of times I'll just put in the caption, hey, here's where you can listen to my show even if you're not in Kentucky. And I do have random people that are like, yeah, I streamed the show, and I'm like, yes, did you see that, boss?
From Pennsylvania, is there a benefit to inviting collaborators to a post on Instagram?
Absolutely. I mean, it spreads your message. I mean, to just run over it. Absolutely, it does. But it does spread your reach. It does help you reach new audiences, as long as it makes sense. You know, we try not to do it with a lot of brands because those brands are ultimately not going to be with us. But if somebody like here, for example, if people have asked us about it, it makes sense because we talk about these things and we have similar audiences. So I'm a big fan of collabing.
Is there money in it? Because that's great for endorsements.
True.
Speaking of money, are paid ads on TikTok and Instagram worth it?
Like, does that mean you're paying to sponsor your own post?
That's the way I read it.
To
yeah.
boost it?
Mm-hmm.
I've never done it.
No, I have. It does give you, the thing is that you'll get the numbers you want, but you won't get the return you want, right? So what is the ROI for a paid promotional post? You could put $100 on something and get 5 followers, and that makes $20 a follower. That's not really a good conversion rate. So in my experience, it's always short-term gains, and those people never stick around. So what TikTok's doing when you buy, let's say, views, for example, is they shove that content to the accounts that it knows the least about algorithmically, or people who are already following you that they think haven't seen it yet. So the majority of those people are going to see it and just keep going, because TikTok only cares that they see it. It's not really going to give you any kind of return. I don't really find that promoting posts do much. And in my experience working with record labels, who often ask for ad authorization codes on promoted posts, they almost never use them. So I don't think that it really makes a huge difference.
I think it's one thing if it's for a business or like a true ad, but I think like you said, it's very similar to, say, buying followers. I don't think you're going to get the return that you expect, and it's probably not going to be worth your money.
It also feels really good when people just watch your content for free. I like that.
Yeah, you could make money instead of spending money.
We have time for one final question. Do hashtags matter?
No.
I was going to say yes.
Well, okay, let me specify. The owner of Instagram said last week that hashtags do not matter on Instagram anymore. Full stop.
Recently, in my experience, I was going to say yes. We did a video with Zach Top, and I feel like anything that we hashtagged Zach Top was just skyrocketing. Like, you guys know how it is. So I'd like to think that that's also because of the hashtag, not the amazing content, but probably just the hashtag. Yeah.
I follow hashtags, so I see the stuff that is like hashtag Louisville, hashtag Kentucky, hashtag radio, because I'm a nerd. So I guess it depends on the user.
Yeah. They're being phased out slowly. I think in 5 to 10 years, we probably won't talk about hashtags the same way. But it also because people have jacked them for trending, right? Like, you can fire up a hashtag and make a ton of people care about it, and then it becomes meaningless. So I do think that it helps with initial categorization. But again, if it's a great clip, it's going to find its audience. Because how many times are you on TikTok or Instagram and it has no caption and no hashtags and 1 million likes, and you're like, how did this video do this? It just is a good video. It just happens. It just has to be good.
Thank you guys so much for sitting with us for this long, and for also clapping for the guy that came in the room.
Yeah, you played a bit with us. That was fun.
But we'll hang around for a little bit if you guys do have any more questions individually, or you could reach out to us on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
What am I supposed to do? Just drive around the fairgrounds another time or two? And where am I gonna go when the girl behind the counter at the coffee shop gets tired of me?